Getting everything nice. And hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tuning of all ages. It is the DOUG here, one fan, Mr. Dave. Mr. Jones will hopefully join us later, because I know he's at work tonight, so if he doesn't get his picks in on the show, he'll probably send the picks to me or Dave, or put them in the comment section most likely. But we also have everyone's favorite Chicago Bear fan. It is a giant vibrator who his Bears are doing very well right now, actually staying in pace with the Green Bay Packers. So I'm just going to say this for vibrator. There is a chance, because of what's going on with the rest of the NFL, that your team has an opportunity to make the playoffs.
Right now, the way I look at it, it's best if I not watch football, because it seems like if I watch football, they do absolute garbage. If I go to watch them play, all they can manage is 2 fucking field goals.
And when you haven't watched them the last 2 games, they've won. So I think all Bears fans are going to say, yes, do that, please, and thank you. Which I will say this, I thought the Bears were going to lose that game, and then, well, everything went to hell, which I have a feeling I'm going to have to discuss. But before we get to that, we do have a recap of last week to go through, so let's hop on that recap trip. On Thursday night, the Rams beat the Seahawks. Not only beating the Seahawks, they did put Russell Wilson on the shelf, who will be out for the next 4 to 8 weeks with a hand injury that he has to get surgery on. So I do wish him luck on that. In jolly old London, the Falcons tried to blow the game, but unfortunately they were playing the Jets, so congratulations, Falcons get the W. Packers beat the Bengals in what was an amazing game. The Lions, unfortunately, choked again, but because of a kicker. So now that's 2 times this season the Lions have lost to a field goal kicker. And as a matter of fact, their loss did set a record. By the way, hi Brian, who's also a Bears fan, by the way. How can I say this? They actually now have set a record, losing to 2 50-plus yard field goals in the same season. Remember, they lost to the Ravens a few weeks ago, which was about a 60-plus yarder that set a record. And they lost to the Vikings, who said, I think it was about 54, 55? So, I guess if you're a Lions fan, you gotta think you're cursed. And at this point, I'm gonna say this. Lions, who the hell did you piss off? Forget voodoo. This is the freaking Necronomicon bullshit happening for that organization. By the way, killed the Dolphins, which I don't think that surprised anybody. Washington, unfortunately, lost to the Saints. I'll get to that game in a minute, because I did watch that game a bit, and I have no idea how to feel about the Saints personally. Panthers, unfortunately, are becoming like the Denver Broncos, looking like frauds a bit as they lost to a team they should have beat easily in Philly. Titans pretty much made the Jaguars their bitch. Pats, we're going to get to the Patriots, because Patriots, you almost did something stupid, but yeah, you better got by the Texans. Raiders imploded this past week and then lost to Chicago. Browns lost to the Chargers because, unfortunately, both teams don't know how to play defense. If you like offense, but if you're a defensive fan, you hated that fucking game. There was no defense. It felt like I was watching an NBA game. And that's not a good thing. Cowboys pretty much made the New York Giants become the Walking Dead. Cardinals beat the Niners, injuring their rookie quarterback. Yeah, but he's probably still going to play. I mean, look, I like to point out, anyone who's saying Kyler Murray's not playing, I'm just going to say this. That's limited, but... well, don't believe anything he says, and I'll get to why in a minute. Cardinals do play the Browns this weekend, but Browns don't have a defense. So, as long as the Cardinals defense shows up, they should be fine. Where did we leave? Bills. Oh, God, almost 1 in the morning. And we'll get to that game, why that went over. But Bills did beat the Chiefs, getting the monkey off the back for Buffalo. And the Ravens made a fourth quarter miracle comeback to beat the Colts, which, believe me, Mr. Jones was so pissed. But my mom was excited as hell. So for this past week, I went 12-4 only losing 4 games. And for the season, I am 51-29. I think Mr. Jones went 11-5. I do not know his total record for the season right now. Unfortunately, hopefully he'll let us know if he comes in or lets me know in Messenger. But Dave, though, unfortunately for you sucked a big old dick this past week. Pretty much, that's pretty much, so we got a lot to discuss and go over. That's why this week, for the first time, we're not doing awards, because there's a lot of shit to talk about. Yeah, you are in trouble, my friend. Deep, deep trouble, as the saying goes. But let's talk about some of these games in greater detail. We will get to the Rams-Seahawks real quick, just to talk about probably the biggest news out of that. Russell Wilson is out for the next 4 to 8 weeks, so Geno Smith will be starting for them this week. I should point out, he still plays. He played last year, believe it or not, as well, since he played for the Jets. The Seahawks play the Steelers this week, so keep that in mind when you're making your predictions. Falcons and... It's a Sunday night football game, so I'm sure the ratings are not going to be well when you got a bad Steelers team going up against a Seahawks team that doesn't have a defense and is now without its star player in Russell Wilson. And no, they don't start switching games till near the end of the season. So pretty much you won't see a game be switched to around week 13, 14, probably between week 12 and then on, depending what happens personally. Packers and Bengals. Okay, first thing first, with Joe Burrow, for the love of God, don't be stupid. You have a throat, you hurt your throat, you actually got a throat slash happen. Even Aaron Rodgers said, hey, you're one of the futures of this league. Learn the fucking slide, when he said in it, when, after the game's over and they go to the other team and shake hands. Yeah, but I'm going to say this, that's a game I kind of felt sad for, because both offenses played well. No one knew what defense was in that game, unfortunately, but what the problem was the kicking. Nobody should have a job as a kicker from that game, because they were terrible. Terrible. Yeah, I thought that game was going to be a tie at that point, so I'm going to say this, if anybody gets the dumbass award, it should be both of those kickers. That's all I'm going to say on that. Vikings and Lions, well, I think I already mentioned it earlier. The Lions are cursed. They are cursed. I blame that on the Lions defense. That had nothing to do with Kirk Cousins. The Vikings were trying to blow that game, but unfortunately the Detroit Lions wanted to blow harder. It was literally, if you want to learn, okay, and this goes, if you want to learn how to give a blowjob, just watch the Vikings-Lions game from week 5 of this season, okay? That's all you need to do. Pretty much, more or less. Steelers and Broncos we discussed. We discussed the Bucs-Dolphins a bit. Okay, Washington, oh. Well, we'll get to Big Ben later. Because remember, we got the Steelers-Seahawks Sunday night game to discuss, so we'll hold off on him for now. But Washington Saints, I don't know what's going on with these two teams. Washington came into the season as one of the better ranked defenses because of how they played last year, and their defense is terrible this year. I don't know what it is. Is it injuries? Is it not focused? Or what? Is it the investigation, which we're going to get to after we do a little bit more recapping? So yeah, as far as for the Saints, they've been an up and down team this year as well, if you look. They played great one week, but sucked the next. So I literally don't know how to judge them at this point either. I'm talking about the whole damn team. Fuck Jameis. Yeah, I should point out, Adam Scheffler, go to hell, because I'm going to get to you later. But Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow is on voice rest today after his throat contusion, but he is expected to play Sunday against Detroit. I don't think you need Joe to beat Detroit. We'll get to that. I think that's what they have it on. I think... No, but it could be maybe the running back does it or something, which that has happened before. Titans and Jags, I'm not even discussing that. Fuck that. I got to discuss Jacksonville later, because guess what? Dave, you, me, Vibrator, everyone watching, Mr. Jones, we have to get up before 9:30 in the morning on Sunday because we have another game in London. And unfortunately, which I will say this to the Jets and Falcons. The Jets and Falcons... That was a good game in the fourth quarter. But I feel sorry for the fans in London, but we'll get to that later. And hey there, everybody, it's the man from MIB headquarters, Mr. Jones. We're just going over a recap and talking about... We're just recapping, going over some of the games from this past week. I know you won 11-5, but what's your season record right now? Alright, so... Yeah, so you went 11-5, so... I'm 51-29, so you're 50-30. So I got that one game lead, and we're gonna get... I'm gonna let you rage on the Colts in a minute, because we still got a few other games we're capping, going into more greater detail. Yes... You're 50-30, so I'm one game ahead of you because of Monday. So, but we're gonna let you rage on that in a minute. Unless we both fuck up the rest of the season. I'm not discussing Titans, Jags. Fuck that, because I got to talk about the Jags later. Pats and Texans. I'm gonna say this. This is the first time I will say this. I feel so confident with the Cowboys going into New England because. Patriots, you almost lost to one of the, well, I would say the most dysfunctional team, but unfortunately somebody just took that title away from the Houston Texans, as a certain team said, hold my beer. But you barely almost beat the Texans, so, and you don't get to play the Texans every week, so I would like to see what happens when you play a team that's considered to be a playoff team again. You didn't play well against Tampa, more or less. No, you're playing Dallas, who's have more powerful offense than Houston, and the Dallas defense is actually shockingly one of the best stories of this year, surprisingly. Raiders and Bears. Oh, Oakland. I mean, not Oakland. Las Vegas. Oh, my God. I may as well just discuss this here real quick. First thing first, I say Yeah, I don't think Oakland would take them back now. First thing first, Chicago, congratulations. You got the win, which a lot of people did not want to give you. They didn't think you were going to win that game. And I said you weren't going to win. So guess what? I was wrong. I apologize to the city of Chicago. But fuck you, CM Punk, and fuck you, Chicago Blackhawks. But Las Vegas, oh my God, has things really gone insane. In case if you don't know, if you were living under a rock last week, the Washington emails that the NFL investigated found 650,000 emails, but the only ones they let slip out were two. John Gruden, who's resigned because of what was said in the email. I'm not going to tell you what it said because I don't want YouTube to take my channel down, but you can pretty much read it. It was... Oh... I don't need to get in trouble. I'm trying to Ted Water here because a lot of YouTubers who are sports guys are trying to not bring it up because almost everybody wants to bring it up, and I'm just doing it here just to be done with it. Here's the thing I'm going to say on this. I agree that Gruden should have resigned because I think he was going to be fired anyway. He resigned. He fell on his sword. A little bit of, I guess you could say, he's compassion in a way. But here's my biggest problem. You mean to tell me, NFL, that out of all those 650,000 emails, the only two that were suspicious was John Gruden's emails when he worked at ESPN and Adam Scheffler. Oh, we'll get into you, Adam, in a minute. So I kind of feel that Gruden, in the sense, and a lot of people are now actually starting to say this, even if you agree that what he said was wrong, which it was, are saying he's being used as the scapegoat because the NFL announced yesterday that they will not release the other emails that were from this investigation. Now here's the problem. The NFL Players Association wants them released. The 40 people that are suing Washington want the emails released because they're like, why is it only Gruden and Adam Scheffler in trouble and nobody else? So it does, so you know, I think I'm going to say this, and somebody said it on Twitter, and I have to agree. If you really think the NFL and Roger Goodell are going to let those emails come out that are going to implicate owners, the ones who write the checks, yeah, that ain't going to happen. I can say that now. But as far as for Adam Scheffler, oh, I'm so glad everyone's been reaming your ass today. Because I kind of find out you don't write a lot of your reports. You have somebody else do it and then put your name on it. I'm going to say this. I'm a little upset that not as many people are mad about that because, yes, what Gruden said was racist, sexist, offensive, and other things. But we got Adam Scheffler over here in the corner plagiarizing, which last time I checked when we all went to high school and college, if we did that shit, that would be an automatic F, and in some places you can actually go to jail for that. But Adam Scheffler gets to keep his job at ESPN and NFL Network because, hey, who cares if he's not doing his own work? Could you imagine if that was like anywhere else, like Mr. Jones, if somebody who worked at MIB headquarters, they did all the work, but you just put your name on there and took all the credit, do you think your job would be there that much longer? So, Adam Scheffler, I hope everyone keeps bombarding him on Twitter saying you need to man up and resign. And I'm going to say this because even Stephen A. Smith said this, and this is all I'm going to leave it on before we get to some other recaps. He said, why are we only getting those emails? What about the other 650,000 plus? That's what the people want to know. So NFL, even if you didn't leak the Gruden thing, we now have a can of worms to it. You can't hide and say, oh, we're not opening it. The investigation's over. Because it's pretty much what the NFL is doing. Washing their hands, don't want to open up the emails. So don't be surprised if you hear within about a few months that a court system makes the NFL do it. So this should be entertaining as hell in the next few weeks. But getting off the sad and silliness, let's go back to stupidity. Browns and Chargers. Now, I'm going to say this. I have no problem with either team's offense. I thought that if you love offensive football, that was one of the best games of this week. I'm not going to lie. But if you love defense, that game was a nightmare for you because there was nobody playing defense till like the last minute of the damn game. It literally felt like I was watching the Golden State Warriors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, I was like, where is the D, man? Shit, people were getting so wide open. Yeah, pretty much. The defenses were playing so bad that even my mother who's in a wheelchair could have got touchdowns on both of them. And that's pretty sad. Because she's in a wheelchair missing a leg. What the fuck, Cleveland? What the fuck, Los Angeles Chargers? Cowboys, Giants, I'm going to be nice here. I'm not going to brag about the win as much as I normally would because we didn't beat the Giants. The injuries beat the Giants because Barkley's out. Jones may play this week, he's got a concussion. They lost receivers. They lost linemen. They lost defensive people. It literally looks like... Oh, I don't remember the villain's name from The Walking Dead, but it pretty much felt like Dallas had a baseball bat with... Negan, yeah. Dallas was Negan. The Giants, well, they were the guys on their knees begging not to die. Glenn, well... Yeah, that's pretty much what best way to describe that. Cardinals and Niners, well, we kind of discussed that already. Niners almost made the comeback, but they got some injuries. Luckily, they're on the bye week. I'll get to that later. Bills and Chiefs. Now, I watched this game. Dave, you fell asleep. Yeah, I actually stayed up to watch the whole game. And Mr. Jones, I believe you were at MIB headquarters, right? On Sunday night. I think. Okay. You off Monday because of the holiday. Well, there were two things a few things from that game. The Chiefs' defense does not exist. They are putting their hopes on Patrick Mahomes winning games with winning shootouts. Bills did not let that happen. B, That weather delay lasted from 10:30 to 11:15 p.m. They actually started talking about peanut butter because one of the biggest controversies was the Bills did not get the peanut butter they wanted on their sandwiches. Some of them wanted, yeah, that was pretty much it. They didn't get it. They didn't get the peanut butter they wanted, and they didn't get enough jelly for everybody in the locker room. So, when that's your only thing you can really take away from that, besides the Bills getting the monkey off their back, that says something a lot about it. Even Drew Brees was getting bored. Because remember, it's halftime when the weather's, because of the weather delay, because that's when it started. Halftime, there's thunderstorms and lightning. So they went through every highlight of every game during halftime. And no, Arrowhead does not. It's one of the few that does not have a dome or anything. I think he's tied in too, yeah. So, that game... Yeah, that was a game that I will say that was probably one of the weirdest Sunday night games I've ever seen. But that gets us to Monday, and I did tell Mr. Jones ahead of time he was going to get to do this. Now, if he was off, I was watching it with my family. He was watching it with his. Now, he's a Colts fan, my mom's a Ravens fan, so I'm going to discuss how it felt with us, and then I'll let Mr. Jones go. The first 3 quarters, my mom was pissed. She literally wanted to drive to Baltimore, we don't have a car, wanted to drive to Baltimore and bitch slap every freaking motherfucking Ravens player. Because she's like, how are we losing to a team who's only had 1 win this year? Oh, by the way, Jacksonville is now at 20 straight losses, by the way, so they could set the record if they continue losing the rest of the way and break Tampa Bay's old record of 27, 28 losses. But, back to Baltimore. When the 4th quarter started, my stepdad came out, he's like, oh, Ravens ain't going to make the comeback, oh, this game's over. Well, unfortunately, I think when he said that, I think the football god said, you want to bet? Because in that 4th quarter, Baltimore woke up. And pretty much came back, blocked the 3-point kick that helped. Colts misses the kick at the end of the game because the Ravens defense was trying to give that game away. I'm looking at you, number 25, because as the old saying goes, they're not going to throw the flag on who threw the first punch usually. They're going to throw the flag on the one who threw the last punch. But Colts missed the kick. Which I know I can already hear it in your voice. You were so angry. Because I remember talking to you right when I got on. You were pissed, and your Facebook post posted that when it said, "quote I give up." Ravens would go down the field and win the game. So this house started off angry, but went happy. Mr. Jones, how was it for you at the start until near the end of the game? Yeah, she pretty much said to tell you, because she knows you're a Colts fan, is go, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, la, 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 la. Give credit to my mom. She's a diehard fan. Nope. Cur- I can't argue that. Uh-oh. For what, overtime? Overtime's 10 minutes, about 9 to 10 minutes, and if it goes to 0-0, game's over. It ends in a tie, I should say. Oh, he's talking to the. Well, Mr. Jones, I got some crazy news to tell you because your owner gave an interview today. Would you like to know what he said? Cause he said in an interview that this Colts team is so good they can win 2 Super Bowls this decade with this team. uh, who do they play in 2 weeks? I don't remember. We'll find. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Well, before we go, we do have a little bit of picks. I should say, get to the picks. Besides that earth-shattering announcement, which I'm sure we've already talked about Joe Burrow. We'll be playing, though he can't talk right now. There was a record set this past week as well. 19 game-winning scores in the final minute of regulation OT, most through 5 weeks in it, which is the most in NFL history. Also, EA, besides the big-ass update that you released yesterday, you did announce today as well there will be an update next week to remove John Gruden from every Madden game. So, if you have the last 2 or 3 Maddens and Gruden's in there, well, you can wave bye, because he will be gone. Cardinals have already ruled out All-Pro center Rodney Hudson for Sunday's game against Cleveland. He suffered a rib injury this past week. That could play a key factor. Also, Gronk will not be playing tomorrow night against the Eagles as he is still out. Brady will be playing with a hand injury as well this week. Russell Wilson, we've already discussed, is out for 4 to 8 weeks. For your WWE fans, in case if you didn't hear, 2K announced that there will be no DLC right now as they had to scrap all DLC upon the squad and place tight end Max Williams on IR with a knee injury. Also, ESPN announced today to televise the new Monday Night Wildcard game. That is right, starting this season, there will be a wildcard game on Monday night on ESPN. Of course, now the good thing is, and this is the only reason I'm happy about it, because whoever gets that game is going to get fucked, personally. Because, you know, then they're going to have to play Saturday or Sunday. Hopefully it's Sunday so they have more rest. But Peyton and Eli Manning will be calling that game on ESPN2. So, yes, I will be watching the ESPN2 coverage of that game. Of course, I only want to bring this up again. Attorneys for the 40 former Washington football team employees released a statement calling it truly outrageous that the only person held accountable and lost their job is the coach of the Raiders, and calling for the NFL to release full findings of the investigation or they will take it to court. So, yay. Unfortunately, more injuries now. The Detroit Lions Pro Bowl center Frank Ragon will have season-ending toe surgery. He will be out for the rest of the year because he has to have surgery on his toe. Also, Saints kicker Cody Parker injured his groin, and he is now on injured reserves. Bengals are signing running back Elijah Holyfield, son of Evander, to the practice squad this week. Dolphins have signed former Eagles wide receiver Travis Fungman to the practice squad. He was Philadelphia's leading receiver last season with 539 yards. And lastly, Steelers officially have signed former Bears and Texans wide receiver Antonio Miller some added depth chart after Juju Smith's season-ending injury. That is right, Juju Smith is out for the rest of the season with a shoulder injury. He did have to have surgery on it. Also this week, 13 missed extra points happened and that is a record, which is somewhat kind of hilarious in the sense. Barkley will be out for a few weeks with an ankle injury. So there is that as well. Trey Lance has a sprained left knee, but because the Niners are on their bye week, he might be able to come back next week. So there also, Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill suffered a minor knee injury this past week as well, and running back Cedric Edwards suffered a sprained MCL and is expected to miss a few weeks as well. Also from the injuries of the Chiefs, Joe Tunke fractured his hand, and Travis Kelce has a stinger. So that is the injuries I'm going to give you. So, let's get to what we're all here for, besides for me to announce I'm drinking Mountain Dew Thrashed Apple, because I found some today, and it's delicious and nutritious. But we are here to get to the picks. Yes, it is. We are here to get to the games this week. I should point out there are 4 teams with a bye. The Jets, the Falcons, the 49ers, and the Saints have a bye this week. So let's start with the Thursday night game, which is tomorrow night. It is the Buccaneers against the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, Tampa Bay has a few injuries and their depth chart's not the greatest. They are still 4-1. Granted, you played the Miami Dolphins, which beating them is not a motherfucking accomplishment. That is pretty much saying, well, you beat me, Mr. Jones and Dave and Vibrator in a game of football. Not an accomplishment. While Philly, okay, you beat Carolina. We don't exactly know how Philly is, because, yeah, they got a few injuries, but, you know, the coach, you know, a lot of people already want him fired. You know, it's only week 6 now. Give the man a chance, please. But they do have some problems on the defense and offense. Now, I'm going to say this. Philly, if it was any other team you played against last week, you probably would have lost. But Carolina has its own problems. You know, Tampa Bay is wounded at the moment, because they are pretty wounded. With Gronk being out, but you still got Tom Brady. You still got AP. Richard Sherman played better this past week. He's probably going to play better again this week. Yeah, Antonio Brown. I thought I said AB. No, I said AB, but with the way I talk, it probably sounds like, because we know I have a speech problem. So here's the thing. As much as I want to say Eagles can win this game because it's a short week, you know, it would be a shocker, but I don't really see Tampa losing this game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers out on the road just because even with all their injuries, I'm going to trust Tom Brady and Antonio Brown a hell of a lot more than whoever the hell the Philadelphia Eagles got. By the way, Tampa Bay is favored to win this game by at least 7 points. The floor is open. So you're going with the Bucks. Now, Mr. Jones, are you taking Tampa? Or are you gonna go hide with, gonna hang out with Will Smith? If you get that reference, congratulations. Uh-oh. That's not good. Well, vibrator could be because of his anit, or he doesn't. He doesn't like doing the picture that much. So when Mr. Jones does come back, we'll get to him in this pick. Moving on though. Next is a 9:30 game again, and this one's also from jolly old London. By the way, Dave, when Mr. Jones comes back, let me know. The Dolphins are 1-4, and they're taking on the 0-5 Jaguars. Jaguars haven't won a game since week 1 last year against the Colts. Dolphins haven't done shit this year, and they were supposed to be this hype team. You know, oh, their defense is going to be better, the offense is going to be great. And unfortunately, none of that's been proven true. Now, granted, some of it's due to injury. I think some of it's realizing, and I have to say this, maybe we overbooked them in a sense, because we saw how they did last year, missing the playoffs by a game. So we thought, hey, because they missed it by a game, maybe they'll make it this year. Here's the thing. There is no home field advantage, so that's out. Miami's favored by 3.5 points. But with all the injuries Miami has, and I kind of didn't I tell you there would be some shocking picks for me tonight in Messenger? This is one of them. My upset pick of the week. Jacksonville finally wins its first game of the year in London, no less, beating the Miami Dolphins. Pretty much, for 1 week, the Jags will be all elite. You're taking Jacksonville too? Wow, I actually thought I'd be the only one on this ship. It's getting crowded. Trevor Lawrence. I will say this though. I'm going to apologize to the people of London, because at least last week, Jets and Falcons ended good. You know, the fourth quarter was a great game. I'm going to say this. The Dolphins-Jaguars game this week is the definition of a train wreck. It is the equivalent of Superman 64, Batman Dark Tomorrow, the original Street Fighter. Yeah, does that tell you how bad I think this game's supposed to going to be? This would be the worst game to watch. And guess what? Because I'm a gluttony for punishment, I like being handcuffed by beautiful women and whipped with a cat of nine tails by beautiful women. So I'm a little bit sick in the head. I'm going to watch this game because I hate myself. And I like to be punished. So I'm going to punish myself by watching this game. Well, it's usually hot candle wax, but yeah. My mom even asked me why the fuck I'm watching this game. She's like, don't you care about your soul? Apparently not. No, yeah. I'm going to let Mr. Jones know we can't hear him. Yeah, he might. Well, it could be the internet that it might be, or it could be having to talk to his boss. Who knows? But at least I'm going to let him know, because hey, viewers may not. So moving on to the next game, which is at 1 o'clock. It is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on Washington. Now, I'm going to say this. This game has me a little concerned for both teams, because Kansas City's defense has not been anywhere near that. You know, the offense is still good, but the problem is they're depending too much on the offense to win games. And that is a problem. And can't hear, and it goes for no communication failure to vibrator. Uh-oh. Washington, while it's pretty much the same thing, their defense, which I think we can agree, last year that was one of their best stories. Their defense was great. This year it's not, and what's even more surprising, while Washington's in the middle of the road in their division, which is not a surprise, that's actually not the worst division this year. Me and Mr. Jones talked, the worst division is the one with the Titans, Colts, Texans, and Jags. Yeah, yeah, I'm bringing it up now. Hold on. They can say it's AFC South, and the reason we say that, Tennessee's 3-2. I don't think anyone's surprised by that, more or less. But then you got Houston 1-4, Indy 1-4, Jacksonville 0-5. That division is worse than I think the division last year with my Cowboys, because at least that. With the way that division is, if Tennessee keeps doing what they've been doing, playing inferior to teams that are beneath them, yeah, Jacksonville can come back, go win the rest of the way. If that actually fucking happens, I'll die of heart failure. But Jacksonville could. There we go. We kind of figured that. But we're going to go back to the other two games because you only missed two. The first one you missed was Bucks and Eagles. Me and Dave both picked Tampa. Tampa, okay. Now the next... Mm-hmm. Yeah, Buccaneers are favored by 7. Now the next game is the London game at 9:30. Dolphins at Jags. Dolphins are favored by 3.5. Now, before I tell you who me and Dave pick, who do you have? Dolphins at Jags in London at 9:30 in the morning Sunday on CBS. He picked the Jags, and my upset pick of the week is Jacksonville beating Miami. Wow, we all picked the Jags. That is scary. They did. They played better than what they have. And they got blown the hell out. Alright, so that is disturbing. We're all in agreement at the moment. Now that you're back, we were on the Chiefs and Washington. No one made a pick yet because I was going over both teams' problems. To me, it's who do you trust more as quarterback, and unfortunately, as much as I like the story of what Washington's quarterback is, you know, played in the playoffs with him last year, almost beat the Buccaneers in the playoffs. He's played well this year, but, you know, there's going to be that learning curve because, you know, he was out of the league for a little bit. Washington defense has been probably the most disappointing because they were supposed to be this top 5 ranked defense because of what they did last year and they've imploded. Kansas City doesn't have a defense either, so this will be a shootout. And I think just because I trust Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs a little more in that situation because they got a better offense, I'm taking the Chiefs on the road, and I should point out Kansas City is favored by 6.5 points. I don't. Okay. So we got 2 for the Chiefs. So, Dave, will this be the 3rd game in a row we agree, or will you be the one on the lone ship? Oh, wow. That's his upset. Wow. He's got Washington, his upset. I got Jacksonville, so this should be fun. Moving on, and I think, well, I'm only going to say this. It is the Los Angeles Rams on the road against the New York Giants. Rams are 9.5-point favorites. They are pretty much a 10-point favorite here. I want to try to say something nice about this game because of how bad the Giants are injured, but Rams, I think this is a trap game because everyone's going to be saying, oh, Giants, all these injuries, there's no way they can win. They can win if their defense steps up. The problem is the Rams' defense is great. Matthew Stafford has been reborn, in a sense. He's become Shang Tsung in this system. And this is my lock of the week. Give me the Rams on the road against the Giants. I don't see how the Rams lose this unless the Rams purposely play to be shit. That's... I was getting ready to say, do I need to drive to MLB headquarters? So you're taking the Rams as well. So no disagreements yet. This, I think, which is surprising. Yeah. I have to agree with that. By the way, looking over my old picks, this is the first time so far on our show we have all agreed on the first 4 games. But I think we're not going to make it to 5, unfortunately, because the next game, it is battle of who wants to be the worst team in their division. It is the 1-4 Houston Texans taking on the 1-4 Indianapolis Colts. Now, here's the amazing thing. Maybe it's because Vegas is saying because, the Colts lost their money, they played so great. Which I'm sure Mr. Jones is like, bullshit. Indianapolis is favored by 10 points over Houston. I'm going to say this. This was a hard game for me because Houston has been terrible all year. Indy has showed glimpses of hope and light, but then they blow it. They should have a better record than 1-4, if we're being honest. And I know if my mom heard me make this pick, she'd want to come slap me because of the bad blood between Colts and people from Baltimore. But I'm either gone crazy because I mentioned I told you there was going to be some shocking picks. Jaguars were one of them. This is my next big shocker. I am taking the Colts at home, even with all the injuries, even with all the bullshit, to beat a Texas team who, perfectly honest, is somehow relevant because they almost beat New England. But I'm going to take the Colts at home. Please, for the love of God, Carson Wentz, do not let me down. I think we need to let Mr. Jones go first since this is his... Dave, okay, you go. No. Oh, you got the Texans, okay. So I was... This was the first disagreement. Sounds like he's asking for his boss, Mr. M. Please help me make this pick. I don't want to do it. Oh wow, I'm actually by myself here because I'm like, I knew Mr. Jones was going to pick Indianapolis after how they played Monday. I didn't know how you felt, Dave, and I will say this. Can't argue that. Division. Both of Texans and Colts are 1-4. Tennessee's 3-2, and Jacksonville's 0-5. That's why a lot of people are saying this division in the AFC South is the worst division this year, because excluding Tennessee, the other three teams combined only have 2 wins and, let's see, 8. What is 8 plus 5? That's what, 13? They're 2-13 combined when you count the Texans, Colts, and Jaguars record. So you're changing your pick. He's got the Colts. So 2 Colts, 1 Texans. Moving on to, I think, a game we're all going to agree, but I'm going to say this. I'm kind of shocked by the point spread here. It is WKRP Cincinnati coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Packers. But they play a Detroit Lions team who might be cursed by the Necronomicon. Unfortunately. Lions this year, they have played so great in almost every game, excluding the Packers. But for some reason, every fourth quarter final drive, something goes wrong. Almost came back against the Niners. Offense blows it. Against the Ravens, defense blows it. Against the Vikings, you get a touchdown, you get a 2-point conversion and make it, and your defense fucking blows it. I don't even remember who the other team they lost to, because I knew it was Green Bay. I'm trying to figure out who the hell the other one is. Real quick. Of course, you know Joe Boy is in. It was the Bears. It's the Bears. That was one I missed. Oh, yeah, I remember that because I had Lions winning because we didn't know who the quarterback was for Chicago. Here's the thing. I think Detroit's going to be competitive because I like their coach. I like what they're doing, but for some reason, it seems like in the fourth quarter, something goes wrong. And if you look at the Bengals, you know, yes, they had a hiccup last week, but their offense played good. It's hard to stop Aaron Rodgers defensively. We've seen that this year, excluding week 1 when that was a fluke, apparently. So I'm taking, well, baby, if you ever wondered, just listen to WKRP because I am taking the Bengals. Probably one of the more surprising teams this year because I've actually picked them a lot to win games this year. I think I've only picked them to lose, I think, once maybe this year. But give me the Bengals. I just think they're the better team on paper, offensively, defensively, all around. Oh my! Oh my God. So you not only have Jacksonville getting the first one of the year in London, you have Detroit knocking off Cincinnati. Wow. I gotta, if that happens, I gotta give him props because I'll get him right back into the pickle thing with this game. God, and he has to hope for a lot of other shit to go right too. It's not because Detroit's played well. Again, I blame the Necronomicon. Well, here's exactly what happened. Bruce Campbell... What? No, well, you know what? She's alive. She's got the Book of the Dead. Speaking of that, the only reason Detroit can't win is because Ash from Evil Dead forgot to say the chant correctly. That's why Detroit can't win. A little Halloween humor since we are in the month of spookiness. Moving on to, well, again, that I actually had a hard time picking, actually. It is the Green Bay Packers on the road against Chicago. Now, Chicago's been up and down this year. Looks like the quarterback situation finally took care of. He's played well the last 2 games, granted. You kind of have to look at who they played, unfortunately. It was the Raiders and the Lions, I believe. Green Bay's favored by 4.5 points, and here's the thing. Since the blowout loss to the Saints, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are pretty much, it was like waking up a sleeping dragon. They have come up, they woke up, and they're pissed. Kind of like how Buffalo Bills won the sense after losing to the Steelers. They woke up and got pissed and started killing people. I think Chicago's defense is a little better. My issue is, and this is why I'm taking Green Bay. Green Bay has the better offensive quarterback in Rodgers. I know Viber's going to say, fuck Aaron Rodgers. And they got the better offensive weapons. I think Chicago, maybe in 2 or 3 years or so, can probably be the team in the division. Because, they got this great defense and a young up and starting offense. But I think the Packers' offense is just too powerful, and I don't really see the Bears offensively able to do well. Good point. And I should point this out. This is technically for an early division lead because Packers, if they win this, they'll be 5-1 in the 5-1 for the season and have a big lead in the division. But if Chicago wins, remember they beat Detroit, and this would be their second win, I believe, in the division because I don't know if they played Minnesota yet or not. So Bears, if they win this, could really shake up that division. But we'll see what happens Sunday. So who is your pick again, Mr. Jones? So we got 2 for the Packers. Dave, Packers. Okay, so we're all in agreement. Hooray! Moving on to the next game, which this game I was not happy because it's a hard pick again. It's like last week a bit. The Chargers are on the road going up against the Baltimore Ravens. I should point out, Ravens have at least 3 or 4 more home games in a row. So this they did win this past week on Monday. Chargers won though as well. The problem is, unfortunately, I had a hard time picking this game because neither team's defense knows how to play until the 4th. Chargers have been putting up more points in the first half, where Baltimore is a second half team, and that's pretty much what is why I had a hard time. Do I take a team that shows up in the second half this year, or a team who put what comes up in the first half and then doesn't take their foot off their throat? If Baltimore had a better defense, I would probably take them. But the Chargers have been impressive this year. I can't believe I'm going to say this. As much as I'm not confident with this pick, I am taking the Chargers on the road to beat Baltimore. Baltimore is favored by a field goal. And I'm staying away from my mother this weekend. That's 2 for Chargers. Mr. Jones? I just realized there's, I think, only been 1 or 2 games where we've disagreed. That's a surprise. Moving on, and oh goody. Vikings on the road against the Panthers. Vikings are favored by a point. Carolina, what the fuck happened? It seems ever since that game where McCaffrey got hurt, and you still won, but since then, Dallas obliterated you. You should have beat Philly, but unfortunately you didn't play to win. It felt like you were playing to lose because you really didn't do anything in the fourth quarter to stop the bleeding. Vikings, I'm going to say this. You are the luckiest goddamn team on the planet. You should have lost that game. If it was any other team in that situation, you would have lost. But because Detroit is cursed, you somehow won. No, the defense. No, he doesn't get the credit for the win. If anybody gets the credit for the Vikings win, it's the Tailwood Lions defense and the field goal kicker for Minnesota. Kirk Cousins deserves nothing but being slapped in the face and being shame. So I'm going to say this. As I picked Minnesota last year because I didn't trust Detroit, and I was right, unfortunately. There is no way in hell, Carolina, you should lose this. You got a little bit of a better defense. Sam Donald's played better this year than Kirk in my mind. I don't give a damn what anybody fucking says. Fuck you, Kirk Cousins. Panthers, please don't, because if you lose to Minnesota, I will bury your ass next week. I will literally get a coffin, put your mascot in it, and bury you on this video next week. You will feel like I am the Undertaker, and you are Kamala or Yokozuna. So, 2 for the Panthers. Wait a minute. After you said you wanted to give Kirk Cousins to say he was the reason they won last week, you don't even fucking pick Minnesota this week. What the movie, Mr. Jones? No, it's the running back McCaffrey for the Panthers. Oh, I know what this is. I don't think it's because he trusts the Vikings. It's because he... Nothing. Fair enough. Please, Carolina, don't let me down. So you better, Carolina, if I'm you better go, Sweet Caroline is gonna kill you. Moving on. We go to the game that's at 4:05. It is the Browns at home against the Cardinals. Cardinals are the last undefeated team right now. They haven't lost. They're playing great on both sides of the ball. Cleveland offensively has played well this season, but their defense has been suspect. To me, this is a situation that the Browns need this one more than the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, if you look at their division, okay, yeah, they got the Rams to worry about, but Seattle's now in a clusterfuck mode a bit. Niners, we don't know the quarterback situation because of injury, so we'll see what happens next week. And Cleveland is actually favored to win at home. Browns are favored to win at home. I think if this becomes a shootout, Cleveland should win, because if it stays close, though, and it's not a big point spread, Cardinals will probably win this game because they do have the better defense. But also, I want the Browns to win this game just to piss off Stephen A. Smith. Oh, you thought there'd be a video where he wouldn't get mentioned, huh? To other people out there watching. Wrong. Stephen A. Smith said on Monday, quote, "The Browns would never win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback." So Baker Mayfield, because Stephen A. Smith is high on the Cardinals, I want Baker Mayfield and the Browns to beat Arizona. Before that statement was made, I probably would have picked Arizona. But because of that, and I actually like Baker Mayfield, he's a good quarterback. I love his commercials because they're funny. He has no problem making fun of himself. I wish more quarterbacks had a sense of humor. I want the Browns to win this game. Yes, I know it means, oh, they're going to be, it's going to hurt the Ravens, because then they're still on a tie or whatever. I can live with that as long as Stephen A. Smith is mad. And this week it might be where he's mad a lot, which we'll get to later. But give me the Browns. You need the Cards to lose to help your Niners out. Mr. Jones? Arizona's undefeated right now, yep. Sounds like Gibbs. To the next game, and I'm going to say this. I think a lot of things have changed to who's getting picked this week in this one. The Las Vegas Raiders against the Denver Broncos in Denver. Denver is favored by 3.5 points. Raiders have lost the last 2 games. Granted, now they're in a clusterfuck. I think they might be now the most clusterfuck team in the NFL. Gruden's gone because of the emails. You have an interim head coach who we don't know if he's going to use the playbook they've been using or switch. All the Raiders players don't know what to do. One took a personal day off today. David Carr doesn't know. Carr doesn't know how he feels. No one knows how that defense is going to be now. They're going to keep the same playbook or switch. Raiders are now in a state of panic. I'm sure they're going panic, hit the panic mode, something. Denver, after playing 2 real teams this past week in Baltimore and then Pittsburgh, have lost are now 3-2 after playing teams who that we thought we knew was shit, and it showed because Denver beat teams that were shit but haven't beat a good team yet. If Denver wins this game, I don't know if everyone's going to say it's because they were the better team or they're not dealing with as much bullshit as the Raiders are. And I think with all that distraction going on with the Raiders, all the off-the-field stuff, and what's going on because of all that's happened, I'm taking the Broncos here because they're not as a clusterfuck at the moment. That's the best way I can describe it. They're not as a bad clusterfuck. Yeah, pretty much there. I had to go with that. So that's 2 for Denver. Dave? I think this might be the first time we've actually... No, he's going with the Broncos. I think that's what you said. No, we're going with Denver. He thought you said you were taking the Raiders. Now, to the next game... It is my Cowboys against New England. The game is in New England, I should point out. But Dallas is favored by 3.5 points. Here's the thing, though. Dallas has played a lot good this year so far. The 4-1, which pisses Stephen A. Smith off. The defense for Dallas has been great as well this year, which is probably one of the biggest surprises this year if you look at teams. Because no one was expecting Dallas' defense to be this improved this quickly. Everyone thought it would take 2 to 3 years. Dak's playing well. Elliott and Pollard are playing a good 1-2 point punch. But Cowboy fans, just know, we should still be worried with the Patriots. Yes, the Patriots barely got by Houston. they look terrible for the first 3 quarters. It is Bill Belichick, a man who plans for everything. But to our benefit, we're playing against a rookie quarterback. We're playing against an offense that's not exactly up to par to previous Patriots years. Their defense is not as good. Our defense surprisingly leads the league in takeaways, believe it or not. And this is all game before the bye week. So for Cowboy fans and Cowboys in general, you're probably hoping, hey, let's win this game, be 5-1 for the season so far going into the bye week, and hey, I look at it like this, Dallas. If you do lose, I don't think too many people would be surprised because it is New England. Yes, they're young, but it's New England. But look at who your other 3 division opponents play. Washington is playing Kansas City, so if you're thinking about it, Washington should lose that game on paper. The Eagles are playing the Bucs tomorrow night. Okay, on paper, Philly should lose. And on paper, the Giants should lose as well this weekend with the Rams. So even Dallas, if you lose, you're still going to be ahead in the division going into the bye week. So you can kind of say there's not a lot of pressure on Dallas. Most of the pressure is on New England because you want to win this game because Buffalo's pretty much dominating that division wholeheartedly. The rest of that division is kind of terrible, you know, with only 1 win apiece. No, in case New England, no, they got 2 wins. My mistake. Patriots got 2. So you Patriots want to win this game to not only stay ahead, try to catch up to Buffalo eventually, but remember that wild card spot because, you know, they want to try to get to that. But I think Dallas is my pick anyway. You know, I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I'm just trying to throw things out there to make everyone happy so it doesn't seem like I'm completely being an idiot and bandwagoner. But give me Dallas anyway. Whoa, whoa, stop the pressure. Stop the mail. Dave is taking the Cowboys? Is that because you don't... Is it because the Patriots are that bad or the fact of... Well... Okay. Yeah, I gotta say, because last year they didn't do that great either with Cam Newton. Wow. Kind of gotta agree there, I think. Well, even Cam Newton didn't do well with them. Granted, that wasn't all his fault. But, Mr. Jones, what about you? Are you going to take the Patriots or are you going to be riding with me in Texas, with me and Dave? Fair enough. Moving to the Sunday game now, which is very interesting now. It is the Seahawks without Russell Wilson for the first time in first time ever since he started as the starter there, taking on a Steelers team who's been up and down this year. I should point out, the point spread has changed. No Juju Smith for the Steelers, but no Russell Wilson for the Seahawks. Steelers are favored by 5.5 points, and I think it's because no one knows what Geno Smith are we getting. Are we getting the Geno Smith that almost came back to beat the Rams last week? Or are we getting the Geno Smith that played for the Jets for so long that he looks like a natural disaster? AKA he got hit by earthquake and typhoon. Even with the Steelers' problems, not having Juju, you know, the receiving depth chart is not that great. The tight ends are meh. The Seattle defense is not the Legion of Boom. It's the Legion of booga crap. And without Russell Wilson, I'm going to say this. I don't trust Geno Smith. He's got a I know everyone's going to say, well, he played great last week. Yeah, he did. But you could also make the argument that was garbage time a bit as well, but because of how the game was. If, though, Geno Smith wins this game, that's going to shake up the entire NFC because guess what? And then the Seahawks are right back in the hunt, in their division and in the playoff hunt. If the Seahawks lose, though, they are in trouble because, remember, Russell wasn't supposed to be out for at least 4 to 8 weeks, so that's his time frame. He can come back after week 4 to week 8 during this time frame. So, depending how the Seahawks are at that point, either A, Wilson will come back and he will try to lead him to a playoff opportunity, or B, the Seahawks were taking, just say, fuck it, we'll try again next year because of how bad our defense is, and we don't want Russell Wilson to go out there trying to come back from being hurt and then gets hurt worse when we miss him all of next season. So this game was a very key factor here. Steelers need this win to stay alive in their division because they are the worst team in their division right now. You know, yes, I know the arguments are 2-3, but everybody else has got at least 3 to 4 wins. It's in Pittsburgh. I am taking Pittsburgh here. I don't feel confident with this pick because, like I said, we don't know what Geno Smith can do. Is which one we're getting. But, you know, Big Ben needs to retire because, God, it's starting to feel like I'm watching The Undertaker versus Bill Goldberg from Crown Jewel when I'm watching the Steelers play. But I think they'll ride the ship this week. So give me Pittsburgh here. Wow. Wow. I'm surprised. Well, no, that's right. You're a 49ers fan. You're never going to pick the Seahawks unless you have no choice. Okay, I'm going to ask this question before we get to Mr. Jones. If Russell Wilson was playing, would you take the Seahawks then? Knowing how bad the Steelers have been this year, offensively and defensively, and without the Steelers having Juju Smith. Throw the rivalry out for a minute. If Russell Wilson was healthy, and we know Geno Smith is not there for Pittsburgh. If Russell Wilson was there, but with Geno Smith, I get what you're saying. That's why I'm not picking. That's true. Now, and I'm going to say this: if Russell Wilson was playing, I would have picked the fucking Seahawks in a goddamn heartbeat. But Russell Wilson's not. So, Mr. Jones, I pose this to you. If Russell Wilson was playing, would you pick the Seahawks? And who do you have in this game, knowing that Russell Wilson is out? I feel a butt coming. Fair enough. Now I'm going to say this before somebody asks. If I had to choose between Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins, whom I'm taking? I'm taking Geno Smith. I've said the only way you're going to be to cheer for Kirk Cousins if he's playing against Roman Reigns. That'd be the only way. No, that'd be the only way you could do it. Moving on to the Monday night game this. Oh, okay. It's as bad as the Seahawks defense is, because both teams defensively have not been is what I would call great. The Steel Curtain's very hurting on defensively, but the Seahawks defense, you can tell it's not as good as it used to be since they don't have the Legion of Boom anymore. That defense is not as good. That to the point to where that's why a lot of people are saying the Seahawks are riding and dying with Russell Wilson to keep him in games. It's kind of like with Kansas City in the sense of they're hoping that Patrick Mahomes can just get a lot of points and win you games because their defense is so bad. Which we've seen this year. If you don't have a good defense, or at least a competent defense, your team's in trouble. Because look at the teams that are 4-1 right, have the best record. Ravens have a great offense, mediocre defense at best. Chargers, great offense, mediocre defense at best. Buccaneers, okay offense, okay defense. It's the depth chart that's the problem. Cowboys, great defense and a good offense, which is helping. Packers, their defenses woke up and Aaron Rodgers is playing well. Buffalo, probably one of the best defenses in the league, and the offense is playing great as well. Speaking of Buffalo, I can still be heard, right? Okay, I did. Yeah, I'm going to bring it up right now to see. I'm trying to bring up the stats real quick for you. Let's see. Defensively, yards allowed. Pittsburgh's actually not done as bad. They only have allowed 372.4 yards this year, because, average. Seahawks, though, have led, the average is 466.8. Passing yards, they've given up... Okay, well, who do you have in the Bills and Titans game? Let me know real quick. Buffalo Bills, okay. In case anybody wants to know for that Seahawks defense, they're good at stopping the run a bit. They're only giving up 145.2 rushing yards. But passing, they've been terrible. They've given up 321.6 in passing yards per game. The only thing that also helps the Seahawks, they get more points than the Steelers per game, but they also allow the most points out of the two. And about total yards offensively, they're about the same. Granted, Seattle does do a little bit better with the running. It will. But when it's not, they're in trouble. And unfortunately, because I think it's going to be a game to watch, because everyone's going to be watching, not to see what the Steelers do, but to see how Geno Smith does. That's going to be that's the question mark. Which Geno Smith are we getting? Machine. They both got the same record, 2-3. It's really a coin flip. That was probably one of the more harder Sunday night games we've had this season. But since we're now on the Bills and Titans, Dave already made his pick in the Bills because he had to run out to go to I guess it's a 7-Eleven store or something, which is understandable. Bills and Titans. Bills are favored by 5.5 points. Bills got the best defense in the league. The offense has been clicking since the loss to Pittsburgh. Tennessee. That's why it's in Tennessee. Titans do have a defensive problem. They've had the defense play terrible against the Jets. And then, okay, they played Jacksonville and played well, but it's Jacksonville. Who cares? I did pick Jacksonville, but anyway. I think if you're Buffalo, what worries me with this game, Buffalo's coming off a high because they finally got that monkey off their back beating Kansas City. So that does worry me a bit, but I'm sorry, Bills got a better defense. The offense has been clicking. Josh Allen, you can make the argument, should be in the conversation for MVP because he's been playing great. Great. The receiving corps has been well, but that defense of Buffalo, when they do their job, when they've done their job very well, they don't let you score. They don't let you do anything. We saw what they did against Kansas City. Made Patrick Mahomes look like a rookie. We've seen them blown out teams since they lost to Pittsburgh in week 1. If I'm Tennessee and you want to win this game, you're going to have to... I don't think it's going to... You're either going to have to just fully commit to one or two things. Because if you try to be passing and run, pass, run, or run, pass, you're in trouble. You're going to have to commit to one of them, and you got Derrick Henry. I'd say make sure every play, even if it's a pass, he is somewhat involved, even if it's to him or it's a fake to him. Because that is your best player on the offense. It's not AJ. It's not Ryan Tannehill, it's the King Henry. We know this. He is the best running back in the league. But with that being said, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know I've been high on the Buffalo Bills defensively and the offense the last 2 or 3 years. So no surprise here, I am taking Buffalo on the road to win on Monday. You hold on a second. I gotta be right back. Coming. You keep talking, Mr. Jones. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. My mom's walker was finally broke, so I had to go help her real quick. Yeah, the wheel finally popped off. Well, let's just say Virginia doesn't like replacing shit. Who did you pick? Bills. Okay, so we're in agreement there. Alright, so that's the picks for this week, guys. And of course, I will let Dave know next time I can talk to him about what week 7 is going to be. Because week 7 is going to be special. Mr. Jones, you already know, but I will let the audience know. I forgot to turn off notifications tonight. I'm an idiot. As far as for the rest of the streams this week, there will not be a stream for the next few nights, because this is the last one for now, because I have to let Madden update, I have to let Aliens game update, and then I got a few games to add on the PS5, Back for Blood, Hot Wheels, and Far Cry 6. So I'm going to be busy getting stuff installed. So the next time I stream will probably be Saturday or Sunday when I have to do a Let's Take a Look at. So there's that. Now, as far as for week 7, Mr. Jones already knows what we're going to be doing. But for everyone out there, and I will tell Dave later, because Dallas does not have a game this week, to shake things up in the league, when we make our picks, whichever team has the most votes out of the will be the one we pick to win that week in my fantasy football. So let's say because the week 7 match, first one is Broncos and Browns. I pick the Browns, Mr. Jones picks the Broncos, and Dave picks the Broncos. Well, then I think Cleveland would win. I would make it Cleveland wins this game in my franchise because 2-1. And then let's say Chiefs Titans. We all agree the Titans win. Well, then we'll make in my fantasy Titans win the game. So we're not going to be picking games for week 7 next week. We will also be picking who wins in the franchise. Now, I'm not going to tell you who's on their teams, because remember, we did a fantasy draft. You're going based on real life teams, their teams. So that's going to make it even interesting, because I ain't going to tell you who's on the fucking teams. Because that'd take way too damn long. So just keep in mind, week 7 is going to be a little bit of fun. But until then, I hope everyone has a good night. I'm going to go let stuff download and update, and I will see you hopefully back on my channel on Sunday. Peace, y'all.